The year was 1968, a time when the world felt alive with promise and progress, the air buzzing with the excitement of new beginnings. The Skyview restaurant, perched atop a gleaming tower that pierced the city's skyline like a silver needle, was the talk of the town. It was the grand opening night, and the place was packed with the elite businessmen in sharp suits, women in elegant gowns, all toasting to the future under the twinkling lights. The restaurant rotated slowly, offering panoramic views of the sprawling metropolis below, a symbol of human ingenuity and ambition. Young Iris, with her wide eyes and flowing auburn hair, stepped out of the elevator hand in hand with her fiancé, Paul. She was 22, full of dreams, her heart fluttering with the kind of love that made everything seem possible. Paul, tall and handsome with a mischievous smile, squeezed her hand gently as they made their way through the crowd. "Can you believe this place?" he whispered in her ear, his voice warm and full of awe. "It's like we're dining among the stars." Iris smiled back, her cheeks flushing. "It's perfect, Paul. Just like you." They found a quiet spot near the edge, where the glass walls met the floor, allowing an unobstructed view of the night sky. The music from the live band filled the air, a lively jazz tune that had couples swaying on the dance floor. Waiters in crisp uniforms glided between tables, carrying trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. The atmosphere was electric, laughter echoing off the polished surfaces, the scent of expensive perfumes mingling with the aroma of gourmet cuisine. Paul led Iris to a table adorned with fresh flowers and flickering candles. He pulled out her chair with a flourish, making her giggle. As they settled in, he reached into his pocket, his fingers trembling slightly with nervousness. "Iris," he began, his voice soft but steady, "there's something I've been wanting to ask you." He pulled out a small velvet box, opening it to reveal a sparkling engagement ring. The diamond caught the light, casting tiny rainbows across the table. "Will you marry me?" Iris's eyes widened, tears of joy welling up as she nodded vigorously. "Yes, Paul. Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and they leaned in for a kiss, the world around them fading into a blur of happiness. But in that moment of pure bliss, something shifted. Iris's vision blurred, and a chill ran down her spine. She pulled back, her face paling as a wave of dread washed over her. Through the glass above, she saw a boy, a young kid with a mischievous grin standing on an observation deck higher up. He was tossing a coin casually, watching it flip in the air. But it wasn't casual, it was ominous. Iris felt it in her bones, as if death itself had leaned in close, its cold breath guiding the coin's path. The coin spiraled down, glinting under the lights, and lodged itself perfectly into the ventilation shaft below. It jammed the fan with a metallic screech, stopping it dead. Iris's heart pounded. "Paul," she whispered, her voice trembling, "something's wrong." Down below in the restaurant, the oblivious crowd danced on, their feet moving in rhythm to the music. But beneath the polished floor, cracks began to spiderweb across the glass panels. The structure groaned subtly, a sound lost in the festivities. Iris and Paul stood up, moving toward the center. But the metal supports underneath were straining, pushed to their limits by the weight and the faulty design. Bolts popped loose one by one, like gunfire in slow motion. The floor vibrated slightly, but no one noticed yet. Then, the jammed coin dislodged with force, shattering a fan blade. The blade hurtled through the air like a deadly projectile, slicing into a gas pipe. A hiss escaped as gas leaked into the enclosed space, invisible and deadly. The cracks widened, snaking across the dance floor. Gas filled the air, mixing with the oxygen, creating a ticking bomb. Iris's unease grew into terror. "Paul, we have to get out," she said, grabbing his arm. But before he could respond, the floor gave way beneath him. Paul plummeted through the shattered glass, his scream piercing the sudden silence. Chaos erupted. People fell one after another, their elegant attire flapping like broken wings as they grasped desperately at metal beams and ledges. Screams filled the air, a cacophony of fear and pain. Below, on the ground levels, staff heard the commotion and panicked, running for exits, knocking over equipment in their haste. Paul managed to catch himself on a pane of reinforced glass, his fingers slipping on the smooth surface. "Iris," he called out, his voice strained. Iris dropped to her knees, screaming for help. "Somebody, please. Help him." But the crowd was in disarray, no one stopping to aid. She reached out, her hand inches from his. But he slipped further, his eyes locking with hers in a final, heartbreaking moment. Then he fell, disappearing into the abyss below. The horror intensified. A woman, her dress engulfed in flames from a toppled candle, ran blindly into the gas leak. Iris narrowly escaped the flames, coughing and staggering through the smoke. Staff shouted over the roar, "Evacuate! Get out now!" The boy who had thrown the coin sprinted ahead, his small legs carrying him swiftly, leading a group towards safety with an unwitting smugness. The crowd rushed to the emergency exit, a narrow walkway that promised escape. But death had foreseen this path. The walkway collapsed under the strain, beams snapping like twigs, burying everyone beneath rubble and steel. Screams cut short as the structure gave way. Miraculously, the boy darted through a gap, unscathed, his heart pounding but his expression oddly triumphant. The surviving few turned to the elevator, pushing and shoving in a savage fight for life. An old man shoved Iris aside, forcing his way into the overcrowded car. "Move, let me in," he growled. The doors closed on him halfway, the mechanism groaning under the weight. The overloaded elevator malfunctioned, the doors crushing him with gruesome force, blood spraying as his body was mangled. Iris shoved back, struggled to find another route. The stress gripped her, a sharp pain in her abdomen reminding her of the life growing inside her pregnancy. Objects slid sideways as the building tilted, the ceiling cracking ominously overhead. Sensing the final collapse, she climbed upward, hand over hand on exposed rebar, her muscles burning with effort. Others weren't lucky. The floor split in half, creating a steep slope. People slid down uncontrollably, landing on the reinforced glass below with thuds and cries. A woman, gasping for breath, thought she'd survived. "I'm okay," she muttered, looking up. But a grand piano teetered dangerously on the edge above. Death intervened once more, a stray coin rolling into place, tipping it over. The piano crashed down, crushing her in a cacophony of keys and wood. At this point, the group was gone, bodies strewn in the wreckage. The boy, smiling smugly at his escape, didn't see the piano's path until it landed on him, silencing him forever. Iris mourned Paul, tears streaming as she clung to a ledge, her soul shattered. Then she saw another boy in danger, dangling precariously. Risking all, she reached for him, grabbed my hand. She shouted, pulling him up as the building above collapsed in a roar of dust and debris. At the last second, Iris grabbed a piece of metal, but upon closer inspection, it wasn't her hand. It was Paul's engagement ring, hooked on a steel rod. The fragile hold strained, the metal bending. The next second, Iris plunged into the fire below, the flames claiming her. Stephanie woke up from the nightmare during class, her heart racing as she bolted upright, drawing stares from her classmates. The professor paused. "Everything all right, Miss Reyes?" She nodded, embarrassed, but it wasn't just a normal nightmare. For 2 months straight, the same vivid horror played out, leaving her exhausted and unsettled. Later, in her dorm, she confided in her roommate Lisa. "It's always the same, the tower, the coin, the deaths, and this woman, Iris. That's my grandma's name, but I've never met her. I don't even know if she's alive." Lisa, munching on a snack, tilted her head. "Sounds like your subconscious is trying to tell you something. Maybe go home, dig into your family history. It might stop the dreams." Stephanie decided to do just that. The drive home was filled with replaying the dream's details, the screams echoing in her mind. Her dad, Marty, greeted her with a bear hug. "My girl, what brings you back so soon?" But when she asked about Iris, his face clouded. "Why ask about her?" he said, smiling awkwardly, his eyes avoiding hers. It was obvious he was hiding something. Charlie, her younger brother, interrupted. "I'm going to the cousins." "Come with." Stephanie agreed. Marty warned them, "Don't bring up Iris there. Just have fun." His words only heightened her curiosity. What really happened to Iris? If the dream was true, how did her mom, Darlene, fit in? At Howard's house, the air smelled of barbecue and laughter. Stephanie confronted Howard. "Tell me about Mom and Grandma Iris." Howard stiffened. That's old history. But when she mentioned Skyview, Howard and Brenda paled. "How do you know that name?" Howard whispered, pressed by Stephanie and the curious cousin set. "Julia, Bobby," they revealed. "Iris isn't dead, but she had a breakdown after Dad died. Locked us in, feared we'd die. Police took her. She sent scary letters with warnings and photos of bodies. We cut ties." Stephanie pleaded to see the letters. Howard refused, but Brenda whispered the spot. In the box, the photos matched her dream perfectly. Shocked, she drove to Iris's hideout, a fortified cabin in the mountains. Through the intercom, Iris urged, "Leave." But learning it was her granddaughter, she allowed entry after checking pockets. The house was a maze of traps. "Protection from death's tricks," Iris explained. They talked, Iris smiling warmly. "How's Darlene?" Stephanie shared the separation. Iris confirmed the dream was her vision. She prevented the disaster by stopping the coin, saving lives. But death killed Paul later. "I stopped many disasters, but now cancer has me." A magnifying glass started a fire. Iris stopped it. She begged Stephanie to stay, but she left, taking the book. Iris, in a vision, stepped out, tossed the book, and was impaled by the extinguisher to prove it. At the funeral, Stephanie warned the family, but they dismissed her. Darlene arrived, bitter. Stephanie read the book as the family Bobby broke glass, shard in ice. Howard toasted. Julia choked but recovered. Eric licked grill. Stephanie sensed danger, raced over. Glass in Marty's drink. Howard on trampoline. Darlene removed rake, but bottle-knocked machine, rake slid. Bobby stuck. Julia dropped glass. Howard stepped on shard. Fell mower, killed him. Another funeral. Stephanie found JB note. Explained bloodline curse. No one believed. Eric at shop. Fan hooked, ring, fire, survived by leather. But Julia died in compactor. Family learned pattern, met Bloodworth. He explained rules. Eric and Bobby tried revival, but MRI killed them both. Stephanie, Charlie, Darlene to cabin. Explosion, crash, Darlene died. Stephanie revived, but not dead enough. Logs crushed them. In the final moments, we see Iris clutching the family's dark notebook, the Book of Death, as the entire house burns around her. It's here she finally understands the truth. These were never just random accidents. Her family has been cursed for generations. That's why the dreams kept coming true. They weren't warnings. They were glimpses of a fate that was already written. And that's also why no one could escape.
But he slipped and
Every
fell
time
anyway.
they tried to cheat death, it only came back faster and in an even more brutal way. The notebook itself wasn't just a record, it was a contract. Burning, it didn't break the curse. It only completed the cycle. So what does the ending really mean? It's not just about horror or shock value. It's about the terrifying idea that some legacies, some traumas, can't be outrun. The past always catches up. And in Final Destination Bloodlines, fate always wins. In the haunting final shot, Iris's face tells us everything. She knows the question we're left asking. Was she the last victim of her bloodline?